Welcome back, boys and girls, to another episode of the limited set review for Core Set 2021. My name's Eric Drell, and I'll be your guide. So yesterday we looked at all the white cards, and we're going to look at all the blue cards this time. So without further ado, let's get to it. The first card here is Baron Tolarian Archmage. It's 1 blue for a legendary creature, human wizard at rare. It's a 2/2. And when Baron Tolarian Archmage enters the battlefield, return up to one other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. And at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So, I mean, this is kind of like a mana war with upside. It can bounce their stuff, it can bounce your stuff. I really wish this had flash. That would be like insane, but it's legendary. Could be an interesting commander if you want to do like bounce your own stuff tribal, which could work in the mono blue deck. But it's just a solid card. Not really a first pick. I mean, it's kind of a weak rare because you're just bouncing a thing and they can play it again. But it's a solid blue card, and you'd be happy to put it in your blue deck if you're already in blue. And I guess you can bounce one of your creatures to get out from under like a Face Fetters or something, which is nice. So there's that, and it lets you draw a card for bouncing your own stuff, which you usually don't want to do, but you could trigger enter the battlefield stuff. So I think Baron, it's okay. I think it's a C+, and you'd be happy to have it in your deck, but I would not really first pick it. Next up, we got Cancel, which is 1 blue for an instant at common. It says counter target spell. This thing has been reprinted a million times. It's fine if you want to counter spell. I mean, it is a hard counter, but I'd probably stray away from playing Cancel. Usually for 3 mana, you get like a little bit of upside with your counter spells. But if you want to be an annoying deck, like a mill deck, stally deck, Cancel could fit into your deck. So it's like a C-. So next up, we got Capture Sphere for 3 and a blue. It's an enchantment aura at common, has flash, and says enchant creature. When Capture Sphere enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So I'm always happy to have like a Capture Sphere in a blue deck. I mean, it's fine, and it locks down a creature. Hopefully they have no way of untapping that creature because they can just, use it again. But it doesn't get rid of like static effects, like Lord stuff or stuff like that. So just be wary of that. But it's pretty good. I think Face Fetters is just better, but that's in white, and this is flash, which Face Fetters does not. So you can really get them if they're planning on a huge attack, and then you just snap this off and tap their biggest creature or most important creature. So Capture Sphere, I think it's just a C, and like I said, you'd be happy to play at least one. Next up, we got Discontinuities for 3 blue. It's an instant at Mythic Rare. As long as it's your turn, the spell costs 2 blue less to cast. End the turn. And then if you want, you can read all this text, but basically you skip every other step. I'll just read it. Exile all spells and abilities from the stack, including this card. The player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off. This turn until end of turn effects end. So you can use it as a counter spell if they're trying to blow up your thing, especially like on their turn. You can just end their turn. It would cost 6 because it's their turn. But it's like an end-all be-all like counter spell. They could counter this with like Cancel or something, which would be sweet. A crazy play. I mean, obviously, if it's happening to you, no. This art is crazy though. What is happening? I don't know. It's like really brutal. Like the cutting the fingers. What the hell? Okay. But if you can also play this on your turn to do all sorts of crazy stuff, but I think this is mostly like a constructed card, and like they usually want to kill your creature right before combat, So ending your turn in response to like a removal spell just nullifies your attack. So I'm not happy about that. But this can just end your opponent's turn on their upkeep. So you can let them, well, you have to let them untap on their turn, and then you play this at instant speed, since it's an instant, and then they can't do anything, and their turn just ends. So it's sort of like an extra turn spell, but they do get to untap and have all their mana available, so it does have that downside. It's a really weird card, and I'd probably take it for constructed if you're value drafting, but gee, it's such a weird card to evaluate. Could be very powerful, but it could just be like a card in your hand that you don't know what to do with. I guess, you know, it's sort of like an extra turn spell, so that is nice. Yeah, and if you play like that, I think it's like a, you know, it's like a B for that. And as a counter spell type effect, it's decent, but again, it does skip the rest of your turn, and it would only cost 1 and a blue. It costs 2 blue less if you play it during your turn. But this could, it's got like a bunch of fringe uses, but I think I give it a B. I want to give it a shot. So, but it could likely be an F as well. Just a card that does nothing in your deck. So, I don't know. We'll see. So I guess B or F for discontinuity. Next up, we got Enthralling Hold, which is 3 blue for an enchantment aura at uncommon enchant creature. You can't choose an untapped creature as the spell's target. As you cast it, you control enchanted creature. So this is exactly Dream Leash. Actually, Dream Leash was 4 mana. I'm not sure, but that was from Ravnica, and the text on that says you control a tapped creature, or enchant tapped creature, or something like that. But this can't say enchant tapped creature because as soon as the creature untaps, this would fall off. But this is just like a bomb for 5 mana. You control any creature that have attacked you. You probably take their best thing that's swinging at you, which is just solid. Doesn't get a bunch of white stuff that has vigilance, but I mean, you had your bets. Like, this will get most anything that's big and scary attacking you. Wish this had flash, but that would be totally insane. Yeah, this is just a really good card. I'd give it an A-, maybe even an A. I would consider first picking this for sure. It's just a really powerful card. Only 5 mana for control magic. Dang. Next up, we got Frantic Inventory for 1 and a blue. It's an instant at common. Draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. So with this one, it's bad on its own. If you have 2, it's okay, since draw 2 for 2 mana is pretty good, especially it's an instant. And then if you have 3, it gets nutty, and then 4 is just crazy. But it's like, you kind of only want to be in the spells deck, blue-red spells, or some other heavy spell deck. Cares about playing a lot of spells, which is blue-red. To really go hard at these. But if you could speculate on these early and take one, and then take another one, take a third one. And in Limited, if you didn't know, you can play more than 4 copies of a card. You can play as many of any card you get. So if you get 5 or 6 of these, you can play them all. And drawing 6 for 2 mana, oh boy, that's just the dream, man. You'd probably mill yourself, but oh my gosh. So these guys, if you have like 2 of these, I think it'd be like a C-. 1 is like a D, and 3 is like a C+. So just depends on how many you get. Next up, we got Frost Breath for 2 and a blue. It's an instant at common. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. This is a weird one. It's pretty powerful. You lock down their creatures for 2 attacks and 2 blocks if you play it on their turn, which can be pretty good tempo. But you really want to be like killing creatures for 3 mana or 4 mana-ish. But this could effectively kill creatures, because if you kill your opponent, then they're dead. It didn't matter if they were tapped or untapped. But you can play it in the spells deck. There it's probably like a C-, but you'd probably end up cutting this more often than not. This could end up being pretty good, but right now I'm hesitant to give it a good grade because it really depends on the board state. So I think C- for Frost Breath, and it could go up from there or down. I'm not sure. We'll say C-. Okay. Ghostly Pilferer for 1 and a blue is a creature spirit rogue at rare. Whenever Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So when it becomes untapped, you can pay 2 and draw a card. Okay. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Okay. And then discard a card. Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn, and it's a 2/1. So it's a 2/1 for 2 that if you attack with it and then untap with it, you can pay 2 and draw a card. Which turn 3, that eats up most of your mana, so, or I guess it would be turn 4 when this untaps. Then you would have 3 mana and then on a 4th land. Okay. But discarding a card to make it unblockable can be powerful, like in the late game, if you just really need to get those few points across. This card does a lot, and I'm definitely going to forget that when they cast a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Seems like throwaway text, but I don't know if you can really cast. I don't know. Maybe in black you can cast stuff from your graveyard, but playing a reanimation spell isn't casting a card from your graveyard. It's weird. It's just like constructed text, basically. But this card lets you kind of sort of loot through your deck, and that's decent. I think this is like a C+, and I wouldn't first pick this. I definitely wouldn't first pick it. It's just a C+. Next up, we got Jeskai Elder for 1 and a blue. It's a creature human monk at uncommon. It's a 1/2, has prowess. I guess this is the first time we saw prowess, so basically whenever you play a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So, it also says when Jeskai Elder deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. I like this card. You really need to be pumping it in order to get it through. And there's that threat of activation with prowess always, which is super scary. Prowess is a scary volatile ability. But if you're not in like a spell deck, a 2-mana 1/2 is just bad. And then looting, I don't know if it's worth it. This card kind of makes me feel like why bother in anything other than a spell deck. So in the blue-red spells, this is definitely like a C, and otherwise it's like a D+. So I'd play it in the spell deck, but otherwise I'd probably play something else. Keen Glademaster is a 1 and a blue for a creature. Human Soldier at common, it's a 2/1, and for 2 and a blue, target creature gains flying until end of turn. So I think this is pretty powerful, like especially for a common, like give anything flying. There's a funny combo with this and a green card. For 3, you give your opponent's creature flying, and then you play the 1-mana green instant, or I think maybe it's a sorcery, I don't know. But it says they have to sack a creature with flying. So, I mean, that's a funny combo. But really, you're going to use this on your creatures to get them through, and it's a good mana sink. Just gets your guys through. So, I mean, it's a decent 2-drop that has late game potential. So, I think it's a C. It's probably just a C. It's not. You're not super excited about this, and you'll probably have 1 or 2 of them in your deck. So, yeah, that's not bad. Next up, we got Library Larcenist, 2 and a blue for a Merfolk Rogue creature. Merfolk Rogue at common. It's a 1/2. When it attacks, draw a card. So 1/2 for 3 is just awful. But you do get a card right away when it attacks. Hopefully it survives until then. But this is just going to die when you attack, so it's sort of like why bother? Because you spent 3 mana, you waited a turn, then you're attacking with it, then you draw 1 card. If they've played no creatures by turn 4, I mean, their turn 3 or turn 4, like you're just going to win anyway. But drawing a card is a nice touch, and if you can pump this in the white blue deck, or give it flying, or in the white blue deck, or pump it with in the green deck, blue green deck. That can be scary, and if you can back this up with spells and pump spells or whatever, could be annoying. It's similar to the Thieving Otter in the last set, which only drew you a card when you dealt combat damage, but it was a 2/2, so it brawls a little better. This is kind of a divisive card because it's drawing a card, but in reality it's just really just a C. So next up we got Lofty Denial. For 1 blue is an instant at common, counter target spell unless its controller pays a generic mana. And if you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. So if you're in blue, you're probably going to have a few creatures with flying. And then if you're in the blue-white flying deck, then this gets pretty good. And I would not play this outside of that deck. This is really the only deck that wants this card, so you can definitely get as many of these as you want. But it doesn't even hard counter it if you have the flying. But 4 mana is a lot, especially early game. Late game, it's probably harder to get value from and might be dead. So in the flying deck, I give this a C, and otherwise it's just enough. I would not play this in a non-flying focus deck. Next up, we got Miscast, which is 1 blue for an instant at uncommon. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 3. So this is just a constructed card. I would not play this. Not worth it usually. It's enough. Next up we got Mistral Singer. 2 in a blue for a creature Siren at common. It's a 2/2, has flying and prowess. So this is a common that I really like. I'm going to slam a ton of these. Has flying for the flying deck. Prowess makes it annoying to block and annoying to attack into, especially with open mana. So this can usually swing in for 3, maybe 4 damage, depending on how many spells you played. And if, at worst case scenario, it's just a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, which is just, base rate a good card, or a decent card. So this is definitely like a C+, and I'm happy to have these in all my blue decks. Next up we got Opt. For a blue is an instant. A common, scry 1, draw a card. So this is a reprint we've seen many times. Even has the cool Teferi art, which I like this art the best, I guess. Yeah, so there's a lot of decks want this because there's the green-blue draw cards deck and the blue-red spells deck, and it's kind of just like jank glue. Helps you find lands, helps you find non-lands. So, I mean, it's just a decent card, and you'll probably fit this into your deck more often than usual just because of those bonuses that it provides. So yeah, it's Opt is solid in the set. I'd give it a C+, and definitely try to pick these fairly highly, especially in those blue decks. So next up we got Pursued Whale for 5 in blue. It's a creature whale at rare. It's an 8/8. When Pursued Whale enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 red pirate creature token with this creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. And spells your opponents cast that target Pursued Whale cost 3 more to cast. So this is a crazy card. So you probably want to keep their 1/1 alive because it makes all the creatures attack you. It's kind of weird how it's like a random Moby Dick card, but they can't call it Moby Dick because, it's has a naughty word in it, so which is annoying about that. It's PC and stuff, whatever. But making all the creatures attack, one of their creatures is going to die, probably their biggest one, to the 8/8. Hopefully they don't have Death Touch. But it's annoying to kill because the 3 more to cast clause. So they're going to be paying at least 5 mana to kill this. And then they get a 1/1 out of the deal that makes all their creatures attack. I don't know. But this is, a Stone Cold Bomb, I think. 7 mana is a lot. but it's not that hard, I think, in this format. I think this format is a little more slower. I could be wrong. Or maybe it's blindingly fast. I have no idea. But if you get to 7 mana, this thing, will kill one of their creatures every turn if you don't attack with it. So that's not bad. And if you're already behind, this is not great because it makes all their creatures attack you, but they're probably attacking you anyway. I think it's a bomb. Like, I'm pretty happy to have this in blue decks. 7 mana is a lot, and you might just die with this in your hand. But if you can cheat it out some way, like reanimate it or something, it's a pretty good target for that. 8/8 is huge. So if you get this out turn 5, like, what can they do really? Because they can't kill it with their removal because it costs 5-6 mana to do it with the best spell. So yeah, so I think Pursued Whale is like a B+, A-. I'm leaning more towards B+. I would first pick it. If it's a bad pack, I'd definitely first pick it. So not bad. Next up, we got Rain of Revelation, 3 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. So this is a reprint from Modern Horizons. It was a common, and I thought it was a really good common. There are a lot of really powerful cards in that set, but multiple decks want to draw 3 cards, and some decks even want to discard a card. So this goes in a lot of different blue decks, like the Reanimator deck or the draw cards blue-green deck. So this is just a solid card. I think it's like a B-. Actually, I wouldn't first pick it, so maybe C+. So it's like on the border. If it's a really bad pack, I might first pick it, but it has to be a really bad pack because it just goes in so many decks. So it's a solid include. Next up, we got Read the Tides, 5 and a blue for a sorcery at common. Choose one, draw 3 cards, or return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Well, I like drawing cards, and I like returning 2 creatures to their owner's hands. But 6 mana is a ton, and I think when you're behind, you don't want to draw 3 cards, and you don't really care about bouncing their creatures because you're probably going to die anyway. But bouncing 2 creatures can set them back. But 6 mana for that, like, Unsummon costs 1. It's charging a premium for the flexibility, and you're probably going to tap out to play this. It's going to not feel great to tap out to draw cards at sorcery speed, so I think this is just like a D, and you have to really want to draw cards or bounce creatures to put it in your deck, so I think it's just a D. Next up, we got Rewind for 2 and 2 blue. Is an instant at uncommon, counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands. 4 mana, counter spells, 4 mana is a lot to keep up. And untapping lands, it's really hard to get value off of that. I guess you could play Rain of Revelation, this one. But they have to... They saw you with 4 cards in your hand or something, and 4 lands untapped. Like, they're not going to play something. Well, they might if they're kind of inexperienced. I would rather just play cancel in most situations. This is more of a constructed card, so I think this is like a. I think it's an F. Like, I wouldn't put this in my deck. Next up, we got Riddle Form for 1 and a blue as an enchantment at uncommon. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying in addition to its other types until end of turn. And then for 2 and a blue, you can scry 1. So Riddle Form is a decent payoff for the spells deck, like the blue-red spells deck, which I keep bringing up. And it dodges sorcery speed removal, which is awesome. But if you can even ambush people with this, if you have it like an opt or something, because you just need a non-creature spell. So that can be good. And this thing's, well, I'd probably save your non-creature spell for the turn after you play Riddle Form, just so you can swing in with it, because it still has Summoning Sickness. So watch out for that. And then Scry 1 is sort of a consolation prize for when you're out of spells, I suppose. But it's a decent payoff for the spells deck, so I think it's like a C plus in that deck. Next up we got a Roaming Ghostlight for 3 and blue. Creature Spirit. It's a common, it's a 3/2 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target non-spirit creature to its owner's hand. This is like a juiced up mana war, just like Baron, but I think this one's even better than Baron, just because a 3/2 with flying just kind of gets you there. There are some spirits in, especially in blue. I think I heard there's 4 blue spirits and 1 black spirit, and the black one doesn't seem like a spirit, so you might be gotten with this, and you have to return a creature. So if that's their only creature, if they only have a spirit, you got to return one of your creatures, unless this is your only one. But I really like this card. It's really good. The art is sweet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like a B, like just straight up a B. Like, I would definitely first pick this. It's a really powerful common. So a B for Roaming Ghostlight. Next up we got Rookie Mistake. It's a blue for an instant. At common, until end of turn, target creature gets +0/+2, and another target creature gets -2/-0. So this doesn't really help your creature win combat, it just helps it survive. Because it gives your creature +0/+2. It doesn't give them any power, and then their creature gets -2/-0. So say you have a 2/2 and they have a 4/4. Your creature would be a 2/4 and their creature would be a 2/4. So they would just bounce off each other. That's not a great situation for my combat tricks. I want them to win combat for me. It's just not worth a slot in your deck, and I just give this an F. I would not put this in my deck. Even in the spells deck, you can do better. Next up, we got Rousing Reed for 2 and a blue. It's an enchantment aura at common. Enchant creature, when Rousing Reed enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. This pairs really well with the Lore Scale Quado, which is the blue-green multicolored card, which I'll just pull up right here. Where are you? Oh. Spoilers. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. 3 mana, 2/2. Spoilers. But where were we? Where were we? Ah, here. But man, do you get blown out if you whiff on this, if they kill your creature. Because you just lost 2 creatures and then didn't get to draw any cards, and your creature isn't any bigger. But this does pump the Quaddle, so if you do have the Quaddle, I would put this in the deck. It does say draw cards on it, so there's that. And that's not bad, but it is risky, and the upside is +1/+1 flying, so which the Quaddle wants. So I played in the blue-green deck, but nowhere else, because all it wants to do is draw cards, and that, I'll be honest, that's living the dream for me. But yeah, this one is just like I'd say it's a D+, just in general, but if you have the Quaddle or you're in the blue-green deck, I'd say it's a C. Next up we got Sanctum of Calm Waters. It's a shrine, the blue shrine, 3 and a blue for a legendary enchantment shrine at uncommon. It says at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. So by itself, it loots every turn. You're drawing 1 card and discarding a card, which I'll take a free loot, you know, but it does cost 4 mana for that, so that's pretty steep for that. I don't think it's worth it at that point. But if you have another shrine in your second color, you're drawing 2 and then discarding 1, so you are going up in cards, which is pretty good. So by itself, I probably wouldn't play it unless you really want to like discard cards in the blue-black deck. But I wouldn't first pick this unless I wouldn't first pick this. And if you see it like late-ish or mid-pack, maybe speculate on it, and maybe shrines are open. But you really need another shrine. Hopefully, like the green one. Which adds mana, I think. And yeah, I mean, so So by itself, it's like a D, and if you have 2, maybe 3 shrines, then you're really getting there. So I'd say it's like a C plus if you have multiple shrines. See the truth. It's 1 blue, 1 and a blue for a sorcery at rare. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. If the spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put each of those cards into your hand instead. So this doesn't draw cards, which is not good for it, not going for it, because blue-green deck, again, cares about drawing cards triggers. So this is sort of like an anticipate at sorcery speed, which it's playable. This is not a first pick, and it's just a solid card in the blue-red spells deck. So it's probably going to be pretty hard to play it from anywhere other than your hand in this set, but that's kind of a constructed block of text there. But yeah, it's just like a C. And don't first pick it. Next up, we got Shacklegeist, which is 1 and a blue for a creature spirit at rare. It's 2/2 with flying. Can only block creatures with flying. And tap 2 untapped spirits you control. Tap target creature you don't control. So this can 2/2 flyer for 2, even though it can only block flyers. That's solid. I'll take that. 2 minutes. You get a little bit of a discount on like a Windrake, so that's just solid. I mean, that's good. And then if you have like somehow have other spirits, which there are like a few in blue, there's like 4 in blue, you can use some of them to tap. You can even use this and 1 other spirit to tap a creature, which can be really annoying for your opponent, and you can do this every turn. That's just annoying. So this is a first pick. I'd probably give it a B minus. You do want more spirits to have this do anything, but a 2-mana 2/2 flyer is pretty aggressive, so I'd just pick it for that even. This is solid playable, so I'd say B minus. Next up, we got Shipwreck Dowser for 3 blue. Is a creature merfolk wizard at uncommon. It's a 3/3. Has prowess, and when it enters the battlefield, return to an instant sorcery card from graveyard to your hand. This is just a straight up like better. What's the card called? I think it's called like Archaeomancer, or it's like a 2/2 with no prowess. Does the same thing when it enters the battlefield. So this is solid. It's good in the blue deck. Obviously blue deck. It's good in the blue-red deck with spells. I'm happy to have one of these in my deck. And 3/3 isn't great for 5 mana, but you can be annoying with prowess, and you'll get the instant sorcery to trigger that. So that's just pretty good, and they have to respect the prowess. So sort of a saying, respect the prowess. Woo, I'm funny, you guys. So I think this is a pretty good card, and I might pick this and launch into the blue-red spells deck. So I'd give it a B, and you probably want like 5 or so at least instant sorceries in your deck to make use of this. Hopefully cheaper than 5 mana. Next up, we got Spined Megalodon for 5 blue. It's a creature shark at common. It's a 5/7 and has hexproof, and when it attacks, scry 1. So this is, I love the art, by the way. It's a megalodon. It's awesome. So if you want a finisher, this is a solid one. It's hard to kill, really hard to kill. They need 7 power to kill it, and it has 5. It has 5 power itself. And they can't target it. So I don't know if there's any ways to make you sack creatures, but this would be sad to sack. But you get a bonus for attacking with it. It's a good blocker. It's a good attacker. I think it's just solid. And you might want one of these as a finisher in your blue deck, so I'd give it a C. It's hard to cast, and you might not get there, but if you're a controlling blue deck, you could do worse for a finisher. So C for Spine Megalodon. Next up, we got Stormwing Entity. 3 blue. It's a creature elemental at rare. It's a 3/3. This spell costs 2 and a blue less to cast if you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. Has flying, prowess again, and when it enters the battlefield, scry 2. So this could be a 2 mana 3/3 flying prowess ETB Scry 2, which is just insane. Well, you have to cast like opt or something before it, so you're still paying 4 mana-ish on this, but you've cast the spell and gotten whatever that effect was. But this card is totally insane. I like it's really good. So I'd give this an A. Like, I'd be really happy to first pick this. Might see some constructed play because it reminds me of like Delver in a way. But this is like an A, and I hope to open this at least once in a while. It doesn't really protect itself, but this thing's just going to beat them over the head over and over again until they're dead. So as early as turn 3 maybe. So that's scary. Okay. So A for Storming Entity. Next up we got Sublime Epiphany for 4 blue is an instant at rare. Choose one or more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. So counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Target player draws a card. Like, man, this does like everything. I think they just like picked every single blue like spell effect and just threw it onto this card. This is sort of like a new cryptic command, although it costs 2 more. It's going to be hard to get every mode on this, but this is a card that can actually counter everything from an Eldrazi because it counters the spell and their cast trigger, which is crazy. That's cool. Obviously, there's no Eldrazi in this set, but 6 mana for counterspell is bad, but it does draw you a card and copies one of your creatures and bounces a non-land permanent. So, I mean, you get a lot for your money for this one, so it's really just, it's like a B. Really good in the spells deck, obviously, but I'd put this in any blue deck, really, as like I don't know, this is like a really crazy card. So, this is the card that Mark Rosewater was like, has 31 different possibilities, because you could, hypothetically, when you cast this, have that many possibilities, but when are you ever going to play counter a spell and not draw a card? Like, you're always going to draw a card. So, so this even, it's a cantrip too, so it's just crazy. So, what did I say? B? I'd say B for this one. Yeah. Ooh, okay, cool. Next up, we got Teferi, Master of Time. 2 blue for a legendary planeswalker Teferi and mythic rare. It's got 3 starting loyalty. It has an ability, static ability. You may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi, Master of Time on any player's turn. Anytime you could cast an instant. So, okay, so for +1, draw a card, then discard a card. -3, target creature you don't control phases out. So the reminder text on that is, treat it and anything attached to it as though they don't exist until its controller's next turn. That's what phasing is. And then for -10, take 2 extra turns after this one. So this card is crazy. Like, so first of all, it's going to loot every player's turn. It's going to loot at least, which is really good, especially in the blue-green draw card deck, which I keep mentioning. Also good in the Reanimator deck, the blue-black Reanimator deck, because you can discard a card. So you're probably going to +1 this first turn. On their turn, you're going to phase something out, which makes it go down to 1 loyalty. Or you could just, if you have defenses up, you can just loot again, make it up to 5 loyalty. Then on your next turn, take it up to 6. I mean, it really depends on the board, but I don't think it's hard to get to -10, honestly. Because especially like in Commander, like you can +1 on everybody's turn, and then it's at what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loyalty by the time it gets back to you. So that's just nuts. This is just crazy. It's like removal for the -3, but temporary. But this is just such an annoying card to deal with for your opponent, and this is just a slam dunk first pick A+. So Teferi is crazy. They said it's a Teferi set, so it's gonna be good. Next, so A+. Next up, we got Teferi's Angel's Insight for 2 and blue is a legendary enchantment at rare. If you would draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So this is really good in obviously the draw cards deck. But if you're drawing anything, any cards, this is really good with just Teferi or just anything that loots, because the looting triggers this. So you'll draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card, which is good, especially with the next card, which you can see right here. So that's solid, and it's just a decent enchantment. Although this is 4 mana and doesn't affect the board at all, so I might wait to play this. I think it's just like a B-. It's gonna be rough to first pick this, but it's a pretty decent build around, because it just gives you so much advantage if you can draw extra cards. So I wish it's set on here like 6 mana, you know, draw a card and then discard a card or something. I wish it, like, you know, enabled itself, but it doesn't. But it enables everything else. So I think it's a B-, and I really think it's a cool card, and we'll see Commander play till the end of time. Next up, we got Teferi's Protege for 2 and blue is a creature human wizard at common. It's a 2/3, 1 and blue, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So this card is great because you can just loot on the end of their turn, and not if you didn't attack with this, then you're just looting, which is solid. Looting is always good. Some people say that looting is better than drawing a card. I disagree with that, but it really depends on the deck you're in. So it's just a solid card. If 2/3 for 3 is not great, but that's kind of what the going rate in blue. It's just like a C. Next up, we got Teferi's Tutelage for 2 and blue. It's an enchantment at uncommon. Whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. When you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. So they finally printed mill with reminder text, which just means they put cards from the top of their library into their graveyard. Yeah, this is a solid like build around. Mill in limited, you know, they only have 40 cards in their deck, and then they drew 7 of them at the beginning, plus another one the first turn. So, I mean, they're milling 2 cards every time you draw 1 card, and you're in blue, so you're going to draw multiple cards usually. So it's a solid build around. Mill is a real strategy. I can see you building a super grindy like high toughness like wall deck with this as the centerpiece, and could really get you there. Problem is, you really need this card in play if you want to do that strategy, but you'll get it eventually, I suppose. And you're drawing so many cards in that deck that you'll eventually find it. So I think it's like a build around B. I would first pick it and then try to do the mill deck. It's just a cool card, so I think it's good. Next up, we got Tide Skimmer for 3 and blue. It's a creature drake at uncommon. It's a 2/3 with flying, and when you attack with 2 or more creatures with flying, draw a card. So really good in the flying deck, but otherwise it's just pretty mediocre stats. I would rather have a 3/2 than a 2/3. So it's just okay. I think it's just a C. Next up, we got Tellurian Kraken for 4 blue. It's a creature Kraken at uncommon. It's a 4/6, and when you draw a card, you may pay 1. When you do, you may tap or untap target creature. So you can tap something. You can tap something every turn because you always get at least your draw step. So that can be good. If you can draw on their turn, then you can nullify their attack, which is solid. This is a really annoying card for your opponent, and 4/6 is pretty good beef. It's a solid finisher, I would say. And they kind of have to deal with it, or it just kind of takes over the game. So I'd say this one is a B, and yeah, I'd take it over some decent other cards. Probably not removal, but yeah, it's a 6 drop. So. Next up, we got Tome Anima for 3 and a blue. It's a creature spirit. At common, this is one of the spirits. It's a 3/3. It can't be blocked as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. So if you draw 1 more card during your turn, it can't be blocked. So it's a hill giant, 4 mana 3/3, which is meh, but 3/3 is not that small, not that big either though. Can get through and can end the game, so it's just like a decent card. So I'd give it a C. So we got Unsubstantiate for 1 and a blue. It's an instant. At uncommon, return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. So sort of like a bad remand. It's exactly remand, except it doesn't draw you a card, but it can also bounce a creature to your hand. So it's pretty flexible, gives you some tempo. It's just like decent. I wouldn't say it's a great card, so there's some situations where this could save you, or if they sacrifice, like if they played Gourmand and they sacrificed a creature, then you just return Gourmand to their hand and you don't have to sack anything, and they just lost a creature, which just gives me chills to think about. So I'd give it I'd give it a C, and with the caveat that it could be better if it just turns out that it's a good answer to stuff. So, but we haven't played with the set yet, so we don't really know yet. Next up, we got Vodalian Arcanist, which I believe is a reprint. It's 1 and a blue for a creature Merfolk Wizard at common. It's a 1/3, and it says add a Wingding or colorless mana. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. So your 2 mana 1/3 is just meh, not great. But if you're in the spells deck, this can make your spells cheaper. So there's that. It's like a C minus. I want more for my 2 drops really. Next up, we got Waker of Waves for 5 blue. Is a creature whale at uncommon. It's a 7/7. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-0. And for 1 and a blue, discard Waker of Waves. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. This is a pretty cool card. It's pretty big, 7 mana 7/7, so that's solid. And this effect, your opponent's creatures get -1/-0, like, is super annoying, and can really turn the tides, pun definitely intended. It's a really good reanimations target because it puts itself into the graveyard plus another card, so that's pretty good. Doesn't draw you a card, so this is a really good in the reanimator deck. Just decent. I'd give it a C+. Next up, we got Wall of Ruins for a blue. Is a creature wall at common. It's a 0/4 with Defender, so it can't attack. Enters the battlefield, scry 1. It's an F. Next. Next up, we got Wishcoin Crab, 3 and a blue for a creature crab at common. It's a 2/5, so this guy's back. Some people like to call it Wisconsin crab. I don't know why. But he's a solid blocker and can really stall the game. 5 toughness is a lot, and 2 power can stave off a lot of attacks. It's just solid stats it doesn't ask very much for you. It doesn't look like much, but it can really block well for you, especially if you're trying to be grindy. So I'd give it a C. I mean, it's just a solid defensive card. So that's all the blue cards. Next time we're going to talk about all the black cards. I'm trying to go a little bit faster in these videos because over an hour is too long, I think, for a set review video. Thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know what you think. Love to have a discussion in the comments about what I rated cards or anything you think about the cards. So let me know. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.